45 years, 0 name changes, new offices, more staff, improved technology to better serve you. Education, services, investments. Think real estate, think Marshall Reddick. Brokerage, property management, private lending, creating financial independence through real estate since 1979.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be on our webinar this evening. I am looking forward to covering the new Braunfels market, as well as with our amazing realtor partner, Stephany Caravantes, who I'm going to be introducing shortly. You know, Central Texas has been an amazing market for a lot of our clients, and you know, I'm a bit biased as I've personally purchased a new Braunfels a few years ago, and I can attest to, you know, the tenant quality, the stability of that market, and the growth that I've seen. Stephany and I are going to be going over, you know, what makes New Braunfels a great place to invest, some of the new developments, and then some example properties that you guys can take a look at and see if they would be a good fit. Just want to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Vince Tomich. I'm an advisor here at Marshall Reddick. And you know, my primary role as an advisor is to learn as much as I can about each individual investor, and you know, help you achieve your goals by utilizing the, you know, the various services that Marshall Reddick has to offer. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I've been in the real estate industry now for almost 10 years. You know, and I like to say I practice what I preach, right? So I own, of course, as an employee of Marshall Reddick, but I own rental properties. I have them managed by Marshall Reddick. I have borrowed money with Marshall Reddick. I have lent money with Marshall Reddick. So I'm very much a practitioner in a lot of the services that we offer and the things that we do. Prior to my role as an advisor and realtor, I was in the mortgage lending industry for a number of years, and you know, that's what really gave me my knowledge base to become comfortable with a lot of the numbers and understanding how the financing works. And you know, right now, arguably, financing is kind of one of our biggest headwinds to making the numbers work. So it's really served me well to be able to really have a good grasp on a lot of the concepts that are going on now, because there's a lot more creative financing that's happening now to make deals work. So it's definitely been helpful to have that background to be able to share that with you folks. I want to quickly take a moment here to introduce Stephany Caravantes. She's one of our top agents in Texas, and I've done a ton of transactions with her, and is an awesome resource for myself and so many clients. So I'll let her do a quick intro on herself, and we'll keep going here.
Thank you, Vince. Just making sure that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. My name is Stephany Caravantes. I am from Mexico, so of course I'm bilingual in Spanish and English. I've been with Marshall Reddick since I got my license, which it was back in 2019. And I joined the property management team. So I've done a little bit of everything in that area as well. I did some tenant coordination. I did maintenance as well, because I was very interested in knowing more about that department. And then I switched to the sales team. Honestly, real estate has been a big part of my life. My mom was a real estate agent and a broker back in Mexico. So since I was very little, I've been around construction, development, sales. So it's in the family. And during my sales career, I have leased over 200 plus units, or between single family homes and duplexes. And I have sold over 50, again, between single family homes and duplexes. I went to college in Mexico, so I have a bachelor's in international business. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Thank you again for joining.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much, Stephany. So for those of you that may not be as familiar with Marshall Reddick, I always like to take a moment. Well, I'll explain first kind of what this presentation is going to be on, and then for those of you that are unfamiliar, I can explain a little bit more about Marshall Reddick. But basically, I want to go over some of our services, some of the markets that we invest in and how we choose those markets. Of course, Tonight, we are going to focus on New Braunfels, Texas. We're going to show you some property examples and then next steps as to like how to actually implement this or where to go from here if you know, what you see here tonight is of interest and you'd like to continue the conversation. So for those of you, like I said, that are unfamiliar with Marshall Reddick, I just like to quickly go over, you know, briefly explain who we are and what we do. I like to consider Marshall Reddick as a full service real estate firm. And we basically have 4 sectors of business that we provide, right? So we have, of course, our real estate brokerage. We help people buy and sell real estate, whether that's a primary residence or an investment property. We can help on both ends of that. Property management. So 99% of the folks that are going to be buying an investment property are going to be seeking professional management. It's really I feel like the glue to allow investment properties to make sense and for those individuals to scale. We'll go over into a little bit more details of what this process looks like, but we handle everything from marketing the property, doing all the showings, the tenant screening, rent collection, rent disbursement, any kind of maintenance or repair request we would handle on the owner's behalf. So essentially everything, you know, an owner would need to handle, we would be able to take care of on your behalf. And then our third service is we're a private money lender. So not typical like the conventional loans that a lot of you may have used in the past or that we would highly encourage you to use. These private money loans are going to be more for individuals who are doing fix and flips, or if you're building a home. Or let's say you have a self-directed retirement account. This is actually a loan that I used when I purchased the property that I was referring to in New Braunfels. So if you have a self-directed retirement account or a solo 401k and you want to buy property in that retirement account, you need what's called a non-recourse loan. And that's what our private lending department can offer. So there's situations like that where private money makes a lot more sense. So that's a service we provide to individuals that may be seeking some type of financing. And then lastly, we have our investment funds, or basically it's the flip side to the borrowing. So the same way that we have the ability where you can invest in property, we give our investors the ability to lend their money and invest in mortgages. So you could be the lender or the bank. There's a couple ways to do it. We reference here the mortgage fund because that's a pooled investment that we have. The mortgage fund is just over, you know, just around 55 million at this point. And it's a fund that we use to finance a lot of these private money transactions that I was referencing. So plenty more to go into in all of these, you know, different sectors, but I just wanted to cover at a very high level, you know, what it is we do. And ultimately my goal as an advisor is to best understand what you are seeking or what may make the most sense for you and to help point you in the right direction and get you in touch with the right people to, you know, essentially accomplish those goals. So that's a little bit more about Marshall Reddick, and yeah, happy to go into any more of these line items in more detail. This is just a quick slide to show some of our teams, right? So we have, I'll show all the teams and where we are, but Texas, Tennessee, Florida, California, these are all just some photos of some of the team members here, which is always great to see. And the team is constantly growing and changing. So I'm even seeing new faces myself. But basically, you know, we host these presentations, as you know, they're free, and oftentimes what you'll expect is a follow-up call from myself, whether it's tomorrow or, you know, beginning of next week, and call it a consultation call, call it a follow-up call, whatever you'd like. But essentially, you know, my goal is to just figure out the who, what, when, where, and why, right? Like what maybe brought you to this presentation? What were you, you know, why are you looking at potentially buying real estate? We could go over the options as to how, when, what kind of property, right? Where, right? We have multiple markets, and, you know, ideally we'd like to present enough information where you may have a natural desire to go towards one of these markets. But lastly, I think the most critical part of my job is introducing, you know, our clients to all the key players, people like Stephany, people like our preferred lender, Reed Hazard at CMG, and our insurance folks, and 1031 exchange accommodators, our property management staff. So there's so many people that make this process possible. And, you know, like I said, my role is a lot of connecting of those folks. on these calls, right, there's a lot to discuss. It could be a 1-minute call or it can be an hour call. It just really depends on your preference. But you know, a good starting point is price, in terms of like, how much would you be looking to invest, or what kind of price point do you feel comfortable with? And some of that, or I should say a lot of that, comes down to qualifying and where you sit from a loan standpoint if you're going to be financing. So that's of course a conversation and a resource we want to implement right away. We can go over some property classes and what to expect there. You'll notice on our website, each property has a designated property class, and that's something that we can go into more detail. And then we have multiple types of property, right? Anything from a single family to you know, mid-size multifamily. Condition, right? So we're selling a lot of new construction for various reasons at this time, but it can go from new construction all the way to, you know, homes that were built in the, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Really depends on the preference and the comfortability of the investor. And experience level is actually another important factor when you're taking on maybe some older properties. And then you know, just going over the property details. And so much of this, we're able to lean on so many of our resources from our property management team as to what properties make the most sense, where are we seeing kind of the best rents and overall best experience for our investors. Now, what makes a good market? So of course, we're going to be talking about new Braunfels tonight, but you know, we've taken the time to vet out specific markets that we want to focus on. And I think, you know, essentially we can all agree not every single market across the country is a good market to invest in. So we've put together some key criteria that we feel like support a strong investment market. That, you know, being jobs is very critical. We're looking for low vacancy, economic diversity, right? We don't want to lean on just one sole industry. Affordability, right? That's really important. As those of you that may be here in Southern California, you understand that, you know, home prices are on the high end, right? So it's hard sometimes to make an investment work here. Not only that, but to compound on that, landlord-friendly states. It's really important that for those of you that are going to be seeking investments to have the ability to have some, you know, to be in a landlord-friendly state, to give you a bit more confidence and a bit more security as to, you know, to protecting yourself. And then strong education. And then last but not least is reliable property management, which is something we offer, given that, you know, we're going to be a resource in all of the markets that we are going to be showing you guys. So for those of you that are interested in what markets, you know, aside from New Braunfels, is, as you can see on the map here, all of these cities that are highlighted are places that we have a physical presence in, that we can assist from the brokerage, the property management side. So as you can see, California, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, a little bit of Kentucky as well. But you'll see that across the map here, where we have, these are boots on the ground, Marshall Reddick offices, Marshall Reddick property management staff, Marshall Reddick agents. So these are all places that, for those of you that may be interested in other places outside of Texas, you have an idea of where we can be of service to you guys. Now, without further ado, I'd like to kick it back over to Stephany, and we could talk a little bit as to why Texas, why Central Texas, and we'll go from there. So Stephany, take it away whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Vince. That's great info. Again, I was on the property management team a few years ago, and property management is so important for like to follow the cycle of buying an investment property. I didn't mention that I actually have a rental home as well, which was my primary, and then I decided to put it on the market for rent. It was still a tricky, even though I've been with the property management team, it was kind of like, okay, this is my first home and I put my savings into this. So it was still a little bit nerve-wracking, but I knew that I had like a team behind me. So I'm super grateful that I already had that resource. So thank you so much for that info, Vince. Now I want to go into the nitty-gritty, why Central Texas, why Texas? And as you may know, Texas is the second highest population state just after California. And I was very surprised when I was preparing for this webinar. I had one about Austin area just back in January. And we were right below 29 million. I'm sorry, we were at 29 million, right below 30 million. And when I was updating this data, I realized that we're already passing the 30 million threshold in a matter of months. So I was not surprised, but at the same time, I was a little bit surprised about the rate that we're growing. Of course, the more people are moving here, the more rental demand you have. Also, Texas is a very landlord-friendly state. And again, just putting California as an example, there are states where the laws protect the tenant a lot. This is not the case of Texas. One thing that I hear a lot about clients in California is that the eviction process is a pain point for markets like California, New York, and like markets alike. Just an example, the eviction process here in Texas is very straightforward. If you have a non-paying tenant, you just file a 3-day notice, or you give them a 3-day notice. If they don't pay or they don't move out, then you can go straight to the court and file for eviction. So as part of my experience in the property management team, I saw like evictions, like pretty much when we had them, like going pretty straightforward and very smooth. Another example of why Texas is very landlord friendly is we don't have rental caps. We don't have any law governance where we have to limit the rents. I know there are markets that does that happen. But here we, of course, guide our investors and our clients, and we run rental analysis. We let them know this is what the market is doing. So we run a whole rental analysis for them. But again, we don't have a law that tells us this is how much your rent can be and no more than that. So yeah, pretty landlord friendly. Another thing that I like to bring up, even though we're like a couple years past that, is that we had the lowest market default rate through COVID, at least within Marshall Reddick. Again, I was part of the property management team back then, and we were, honestly, we were bracing for the default rate. We knew that people were going to be in default, so we're starting implementing processes and just notices, but we were pleasantly surprised when we saw that the default rate overall was 2%. That actually is not bad in a normal market without the pandemic happening, and even more so with the pandemic happening. So that shows you that Central Texas is a very strong market. And this is one of the reasons why it is a strong market, is because the workforce here is very diverse. That's one of the reasons why I moved to Texas. I've been in Minnesota, I've been in other states. I hate the snow. So when I moved here, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start from zero because I have my career in Mexico. What can I do? Where do I have the most chances to work hard and make it? And I did research, and our workforce is very, very diverse. It includes the military. We are the biggest joint base in the US. So if you go to San Antonio, everywhere in San Antonio that you go, you're gonna see a military base. So of course we have a lot of members, retirees, families, and this goes hand to hand with medical infrastructure. We have to have a big infrastructure, not only for civilians, but also for military and their families. So medical is another big industry and employer here in Central Texas. Of course, government, the school districts here in Central Texas, they're big on being main employers. As you may know, the tech industry in Austin has been just booming. You have Google, you have Tesla, Oracle, all these tech companies that they're located in Austin, and that effects just trickles down to New Braunfels and San Antonio. We are also big in manufacturing. We have Toyota, Continental, Amazon warehouses. So overall, a strong market is going to be strong in part because of how diverse the workforce is. We have it resilient to crashes and ups and downs, but because we have this diversity, we're not only rich in culture, but we are rich in employers having their corporate offices or manufacturing down here. And another reason why Central Texas is a very good place to invest is because we don't have any natural disasters. And outside of the 100-degree weather in the summer that it feels like 110, that's the worst that we do. We're quite far from the coast in Houston, so we don't have any tropical storms or hurricanes. We definitely don't have fires like in California. We definitely don't have tornadoes like Tennessee or other markets like that. So that helps you a lot with insurance costs. I also have heard from coworkers in California or just clients in California that with the recent fires, there's a lot of insurance companies that they pull off, and they have only like 3 choices. And of course, these 3 companies are going to price gouge as much as possible. So now insurance is like very expensive. Luckily down here, that's not the case. You have plenty of choices. Therefore, your insurance cost is going to be very affordable. So this slide is showing you the properties under management that we have in Central Texas, in San Antonio, New Braunfels, and Austin markets specifically. As you can see, we have a very strong presence in these 3 areas. As of March of 2024, we were at like over 1,500 units between single-family homes and duplexes, and we're growing. I'm pretty sure that by now we are over 1,600, and that just shows you how much interest has Central Texas been attracting. We are like very strongly on the I-35 belt, and I'm going to show you what the I-35 belt is, why it's very important. The first map is going to show you just in general the location of New Braunfels. So New Braunfels is very just along this I-35 interstate. This interstate is very important. It's going to take you all the way to Canada to the north and all the way to Mexico to the south. So for goods mobility and even services mobility, this interstate is very important. New Braunfels has a location that it's a very strategic location. It's right in between San Antonio and right in between in Austin. So New Braunfels has obviously major employers in the area, but because it's right in between these 2 big cities, all the benefits of the major employers from San Antonio is going to trickle down to New Braunfels, and all the benefits from these big tech companies in Austin is going to trickle down in New Braunfels. When I was doing a lot of leasing, I saw it firsthand. We had a lot of tenants that either work in New Braunfels or they work in San Antonio or Austin, and they were committed to these 2 cities. New Braunfels is very, like compared to Austin, of course, is very affordable in rents. So there's people like my husband that they don't mind to do the 45-minute drive from here to Austin, and they do have a better paying job, or they have just like a job with Google or with Tesla, and it's not a far drive, to be honest. So the second map is going to show you specifically New Braunfels area here on the little red star. Just like a fun fact or like history fact, New Braunfels was founded back in 1845 by, let me see if I remember correctly, by Prince Carl of Solms, New Braunfels, hence the name of New Braunfels. He was a prince from Germany, so it was a Germany community or immigrants who were established here. So New Braunfels not only has a great location between San Antonio and Austin, but it has, it's so charming because it has all the heritage and culture that those Germans settled us. So if you if you go to New Braunfels downtown, you're gonna see that that culture. Like you're gonna see a lot of German restaurants. You're gonna see a lot of streets and little towns after like German names or German people. And because of that reason, we are also big in tourism. I think that right now during summertime, you're gonna see either it's like weekday or weekend, you're gonna see so many people in New Braunfels downtown and surrounding areas that now that I'm living here, I moved from San Antonio, I see the actual charm of the city. So New Braunfels is going to be a great place for families. It's going to be a great place for young professionals, again, that they want to be more like in the whole hill country vibe, but still within reach of the big city attractions like San Antonio downtown or Austin downtown. And again, New Braunfels is very outdoorsy hill country, so you have a little bit of everything. And on my next slide is actually going to break down why New Braunfels specifically. We already talked about the location, a super important location between San Antonio and Austin. Like I was mentioning, New Braunfels has all this German heritage, and just alone the tourism that we have every summer during Oktoberfest, there's a lot of country concerts that brings over 700 million in economic impact. So that's huge. Just the diversity in New Braunfels in regards to employment, renters, primary home buyers, and tourism as well makes it like a great city. Again, I just moved from San Antonio, and I think that in San Antonio, I love it. You can go, you have a lot going on, the city, but since I moved to like close by New Braunfels, I do feel like my quality of life has improved just because I feel like I'm more in the nature and I see the charm of these little towns. So yeah, definitely I think as the people that just recently moved here, I'm seeing the charm and why people just like keep moving to New Braunfels. We talk about the employment opportunities of San Antonio and Austin and how that is trickling down to New Braunfels. And just because of that, again, the location and how close to both cities New Braunfels is, the projection is that by 2027, employment is going to grow in a 46.5%, which is huge. We're talking about 3 years or less. We're seeing if you drive through I-35 interstate from San Antonio to New Braunfels, you see companies putting their corporate offices or warehouses. And if you drive from New Braunfels to Austin, you pass by little towns like Buda and Kyle, and you also see all this growth. So we're gonna be definitely a big metro, just like Dallas Fort Worth in a matter of years. I mean, we already talked about population growth, and just for you to have a number, just in 2023 alone, the growth rate was 32.25%. New Braunfels has been consistently within the first 10 cities in growth. So since 2000, it hasn't moved. New Braunfels is still on the top 10. I talk about a little bit also about the low cost basis, meaning New Braunfels compared to other cities, it's very affordable for both renters and primary home buyers. And of course, this is very important for investors because if you have affordability in the market, then you're going to be able to get more for your money. Just an example, like let's say a 1,400 square feet home in New Braunfels with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. If you go to Austin, that's going to be in the high, I would say in the high 300s or mid 300s, depending on the builder that you go with. If you go to New Braunfels, you can get something like that from like to start will be $250,000. So again, New Braunfels is very affordable, but still has great rents. I see higher rents in New Braunfels than San Antonio. And again, I just think that is the lifestyle and the charm of New Braunfels, that everyone wants to be in the middle of everything, and also with like the quiet and peace. And that brings me to safety. New Braunfels is very committed to safety. Like if you come to New Braunfels and you talk to the people that live here, they're very, very, very proud of the community. Again, being part of the Hill Country scenery. So we make our county and our police department very accountable for safety. So crime rates are 30% lower compared to other states in the US. So yeah, I just moved here and I don't think that I'm gonna move at all. In regards to grow in New Braunfels, this little chart, I know that it doesn't, is not very legible right now, but we're gonna send you a copy of the presentation so you can like zoom in and just look at it with more detail. But this chart is showing you the growth, not the growth, I'm sorry, just the appreciation trend in New Braunfels. So this data is, it's backing you 24 years. As you can see on the chart, it's been pretty consistent. Of course, we have 2008 and 2009, but once that you look at it in your computer, you're gonna see then in 2010, it had a good recovery. And the years after that, it kept growing. It's been very stable since during the last 10 years. So there's other markets that, yes, maybe you might get a higher rental rate, but when something happens with like interest rates, like they rise or things like that, they're going to be more like unstable, and you're going to see more like a dip.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Stephany, that's a really good point. You know, New Braunfels and Central Texas specifically has been very steady, as you mentioned, in terms of appreciation. And you did mention 2008, 2009, and you'll notice those are less than, it's literally less than 1% in terms of a depreciation, so, or of a decline. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at other states like that we were invested in, like California and in Florida, there's high double-digit decreases in value, right? And some places are still, you know, recovering. I think one of the nice things about real estate is and most of them in the long term have fully recovered, but it's nice to know of at such a scale, for such an economic collapse, right, in real estate, to notice that there are markets that have been able to really navigate that and sustain that well, is just good for those folks in the long-term mentality, those folks that are interested in long-term investing. So great point.
Yep, thank you, Vince. Yeah, and again, I think I want to point out that is the diversity and on the employment workforce. It's just so important having a little bit of everything. I think a lot of clients say they like the Austin tech. It's just like having Google, Tesla, all these companies is very attractive, but it makes you, a market is very strong when you can rely on several industries. So thank you for that, Vince. So here is showing you the top employers in New Braunfels. This is obviously local info. The school districts, just like I said, in San Antonio, is going to be a big employer. I do want to point out that we have 2 school districts in New Braunfels. We have Comal ISD and New Braunfels ISD. Both are big employers. Not only that, though, they're great school districts. So when we have people moving to New Braunfels, and when we have renters moving from San Antonio to New Braunfels, or just like locally, they are not concerned about, I want to be in this area or this neighborhood because I want my kids to go to X school district. They know already that either Comal or New Braunfels, they're both great school district, highly rated. So I think that's super, super important. So again, this is just an example. Like San Antonio, it's obviously bigger, you have more areas, but you do have, when we recommend areas or neighborhoods to our clients, we do have to be more mindful about the school district. Here in New Braunfels, we actually either or is going to be great. Another big employer is going to be, and this is a German name that I might botch all the way through, is going to be Schlitterbahn Park. I always have problems with that one, but my strong is Spanish, not in German. But that's it. That one is a huge water park here in New Braunfels, very popular right now. If you go, like right now it's raining, but you're gonna go and you're gonna see people in the park. So this is, again, is a major employer here. Walmart Distribution Center, again, Comal County, the city of New Braunfels is a big employer. They have great benefits. IVEX, Cisco. So these are just a few of the major employers. Again, I think that the importance about New Braunfels as well is that New Braunfels catches all the military activity in San Antonio and the tech activity in Austin. So I am a little bit biased about New Braunfels, but I just think that is just a great, it's right in the middle and has everything, to be honest.
Well, and Stephany, just to kind of add to that, you mentioned earlier that you lived in San Antonio and you moved to New Braunfels more for quality of life, right? And that's what I think is super important, is it's great to see that New Braunfels of the city has this economic diversity within the city. But the reality is New Braunfels is wedged between two of the largest cities in Texas. And that's the moral of the story. It's wedged between Austin and San Antonio off the I-35 that you mentioned goes from Canada to Mexico. So it's very centrally located. And personally, my reason that I invested there wasn't because I feel like New Braunfels is going to be the next Austin. It's simply because the folks that are in Austin and San Antonio that are seeking, better quality of life, or just a different quality of life, New Braunfels is a good home for them. So that was, a part of that reason. And I think that it's great to see the growth there. I think that helps with appreciation and a lot of other things, but nonetheless, that you can't avoid the realities of where it's located. And I think that's a huge point.
Yep, exactly. So, and this chart is showing you a little bit of the demographics, just so you have an idea. Again, we're gonna send you this to you so you can look into it with more detail. But as you can see on education, so there's a very small portion of the population here in New Braunfels that hasn't graduated from high school. And we have almost 40% of population here that has a bachelor's degree or something alike. The median household income is close to $82,000, which is compared to other cities and other markets, it's pretty good. And I think I think that this is just is going to keep growing, just location wise, and job growth is just the numbers are going to be looking better and better. But this is just, again, just a reference for you to see in regards to demographics, what numbers is looking like. And now this is a part that I love in regards to this webinar. What is coming to New Braunfels from today to the next 6-7 years? I think this is very important because it's not only telling you how much New Braunfels is growing, but also if you invest here, where the infrastructure that you're gonna have. One of the projects that is currently happening in New Braunfels is the River Mill project, I'm sorry. And this is pretty much, they're rehabbing like an abandoned factory, and they're doing a multi-use development. And this is something that I see happening more and more. And Austin is very, very, very big in multi-use developments. So if you go to Austin, you're going to see developments where they mix single family with multifamily, parks, shops, and all that. So this is happening more and more down south here in New Braunfels. They're rehabbing a lot of areas of downtown, and they're like a lot of investors are coming and dumping a bunch of money in projects like this one. So this is one that we're excited about. Another project that we are excited, well, it's on the end of this slides, but another project that is going to be very big is going to be Mayfair Development. This is going to be another another huge development that is going to have mainly single family homes, a few townhomes, and it's going to also have the developer is leaving room for parks, recreation centers, schools, like bike trails. And the developer also is doing, because of course this is a developer that they build, they sell homes or multifamily, but they're also leaving room for public amenities. So not only the residents of this huge development are going to be able to enjoy all this infrastructure, but he's leaving room for parks and amenities for just like the public in general, which I think it's amazing. And this is, again, another like a huge development from Veramendi. This is actually happening already. This is going to be over the years, but it is going to be another development where you're going to see a lot of builders, single family home builders like Centex, D.R. Horton, Pulte Homes, either custom home builders like David Quickly. They're going to be into this huge development. So we have quite a few of those. But what I like is that we not only have builders and building a bunch of houses or multifamily, we also have projects to either rehab some areas of New Braunfels and or also adding more to existing areas, which is this will be the example. We already have the Comal County Fairgrounds. We already have some facilities, but of course, with the growth that we're experiencing, the county already foresees that this is not going to be enough. So they're planning for adding more buildings, more centers, and just adding more amenities for the population in general. This is another project that is going to take about 5 years or so. That we're super excited. That the ones that we live here, we're super excited about this project. There's a lot of rodeo happening on the fairgrounds, so another fun thing to do here in New Braunfels. This is another project that I'm very excited about. This is another kind of like rehab program. It's the West End area plan. So right now on your left, you're gonna see how it currently looks, this like little stretch of the street. And on the right, that what the city is planning to have more like a walkable space with bike trails. And it's just, New Braunfels is a lot about like planning on mobility. So they're not, because all these builders are coming in, but they want people to be able to walk places too. So they're doing a lot of projects where it's not going to be only, oh yeah, great, a new builder, like a lot of houses. They're doing a lot of rehab in regards just making easier for people to walk, to bike, and commute to places. And now, so that's the good stuff that is coming in the next 6 or 7 years. Again, I'm super excited, as I'm sure that a lot of investors that they already have properties here. And of course, y'all looking at all this and possibility to invest in New Braunfels will be excited about. And now we're looking at very fun stuff to actual example of investment opportunities. One is going to be a single family home. What I like a lot about New Braunfels as well is that it has so many options for single family homes and multifamily, especially single family home. So it depends on your goals. It is going to depend on your goal. It's going to depend on your budget, and you can go with several builders in the area. So this is just one example. This is one builder called Lennar here in Texas. Is very famous because it's very affordable. The price point, again, it's compared to other markets, is going to be, I think, very, for a lot of people that are joining us for, let's say, for California, it's going to be very affordable. Something like this that is like 1,600 square feet this is actually on the market at $252,000. And the great thing about having an agent that knows the local builders, that has relationship with builder reps, is knowing what each builder is offering you. Again, there's so many options out there. This builder, I have a relationship with a few of the builder reps in different areas in New Braunfels and San Antonio. And what I like about having these relationships is that they let me know, you know what, right now we're having interest rate that can be offered to investors as well. In this case, is 5.75. That's going to help tremendously to your cash flow. So it's great when builders extend these incentives not only to primary home buyers, but also to investors. So with, you're gonna see all the breakdown, you're gonna see your interest rate, taxes. Taxes, one thing to mention here in Central Texas. I have heard clients saying, yeah, your tax rates are a little bit higher, but also I like to point out that we only have federal taxes. We don't have state taxes. So at the end of the day, yeah, your tax rate might be a little bit higher than other states, but you don't have the state tax. So whenever we're looking at this number, you're going to see taxes, your insurance costs, which again in Central Texas is going to be very affordable and stable. The management fee that Marshall Reddick has, your HOA fees, which any new construction development is going to have an HOA, and that's great. As a primary home buyer, whenever I was living in San Antonio, I was like, oh, I hate my HOA. They're a pain in the butt. But now that that house is a rental, I am actually, I see the HOA like, okay, I know that the HOA, because they were on top of me. If I didn't mow my grass or if it was like a little bit overgrown, they will send me like a warning letter. So now I know if my tenants are not taking care of the front yard or doing something crazy to the house, the HOA is going to let me know. So we see the HOA as the second set of eyes for our property management team. So if something is going on and on your property, they let us know. So it's good to have an HOA. I admit that. It's good to have an HOA. And you're gonna see, in this calculator, we're not accounting for utilities or landscaping because that's obviously always tenant responsibility. Here in Texas, even with multifamily, everything has a separate meter. Water, sewer, and electricity, they all have a separate meter, so you don't go through the hassle of, okay, I have to divide the bill, I have to pay the bill, I have to divide the bill, and each tenant has to pay me back the bill. So very easy peasy in that sense. And then if we look at the fixed expenses, something like this single family home, again, with your builder incentive, you're going to have cash flow, which is right now in this market with this interest rates. I know that it's very hard to achieve sometimes in some markets. But here, the worst case scenario that I see in our Central Texas market, obviously, if you go with a higher price point home, is you're going to break even, meaning your house is going to, or your investment is going to take care for itself for the next 1-2 years. Of course, not taking into account rental increases. Did you want to add something, Vince?
Yeah, absolutely. You just pointed out a really good point here. So at the end of the day, this is upon acquisition. This is day one. For those of you that are more familiar with rental real estate, you realize that typically the numbers improve over time. The rents go up, the interest rate usually will go down based on potential refis in the future. The mortgage principal goes down. There's a lot of things that start working towards your favor as you let these the value of the home goes up. It allows you to grow your wealth over time. So it's not to say that one should make these speculations as like I'm gonna be able to refi next year, or the rent's gonna go up $300 next year. It's just something that to consider in the long term, and this isn't like a fixed short-term concept. But I do want to point out that our return on investment there at the bottom of 15.8, that's assuming a 15-year hold. And the one thing that I wanted to point out is that is not factoring in rental increases. So that is assuming that the rent stays at $1,700 for 15 years straight. So I just want to point out some of the things where we take a more conservative approach for those of you that are looking at this and may have some questions. But yeah, this is, I think, a great, very standard type of price, type of property, and very much achievable price point, right? That 250 range is something we see a lot of.
Yep, exactly. And I think Vince is bringing up a very, very important point, which is real estate is to create wealth. And I can attest to this because my mom did real estate for many, many years after she retired of being a nurse. So I can attest that real estate is not, I mean, yeah, you can have a good return on investment if you do flips or if you do development. But if you even buy a property or two and you hold it, your returns in the future are going to be great. I was lucky enough that my mom did this for a living, and I have two other sisters, and each one of us was left with that type of wealth. We'd have our house. I have an investment property in Mexico, so I think I can attest that that's for the future, and that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah. Creating wealth is just a huge difference. And this example is going to be a multifamily. I know that we're running out of time, so just so you have an idea of the numbers of a multifamily property in New Braunfels. This is a great product that we have. We have a relationship with the builder, and this is super important, again, to have these relationships, because this is when we start, we are able to suggest them, to make suggestions to them and be like, you know what, with the current interest rates, numbers are not working for investors. They're not gonna they are not gonna benefit in the next year. So we're able to tell this to the builders, and this builder is doing very similar to what the single family home builder is doing. Is doing a special interest rate at 5.25, which is well below market rate right now. And if you look at the numbers, fixed expenses, after fixed expenses, and with your projected rent, that in this case is $3,300, you're still doing, again, your cash flow is not going to be, you're going to be rich the next year, but the property is going to take care of itself. And then you're going to have a little bit more, just for say for you or for in the future, any maintenance once that your builder warranty has expired. But again, right now we're looking at the long term, and in the future years, your rent is just going to keep increasing. So this is another.
Yeah, and one of the things here that Stephany brought up is this rate buy down here. So this is something that is unique to some multifamily builders, where they're basically prepaying the rate. They're buying the interest rate down for you ahead of time, down to, in this case, 5.25. This is a 10-1 ARM, so that's fixed for 10 years. And then on year 11, it would go adjustable. We feel like 10 years is a pretty good runway for folks to be able to potentially refinance, sell. The average 30-year mortgage is only held for 7 years, so something to consider there. The reason we have two kind of columns here, though, is just because we are offering 6 months of free property management here. So what these, the first column basically shows the full management at 8% and what those numbers would look like. So basically at a $3,300 rent, your mortgage, taxes, insurance, management fee, and HOA, your fixed expenses are $3,237, so you're left with a net of $6,216, and that's prior to any maintenance or vacancy. You'll see when you factor in maintenance and vacancy, you will have a negative figure here at year one. And again, we are saying maintenance and vacancy as something that, for those of you that are familiar with real estate, it will come at some point. Doesn't mean that this is happening year one. If the property is fully occupied and there's not maintenance issues, which should be very unlikely given it's brand new, your numbers are going to be more in line with this monthly income column. But nonetheless, this is what year one would look like given the 6 months free property management. What we did is basically annualize what you're basically, if you were to pay half of the year in management and just annualize over the year. So essentially like a 4% management fee. So that's kind of what you would look like here for in terms of a monthly income. So just to point out, but again, yeah, I wanted to just kind of note the purchase price, the down payments, 30%. You're not forced to put 30% down, but nonetheless, that 25 is the minimum, but 30 and 35 is where we're seeing what we're seeing as the kind of the sweet spot there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to piggyback on that a little bit. And that Vince mentioned, this is a new construction, either single family home or duplex. We like to, especially for newer investors that they just want to be like out of sight, out of mind. New construction is a great fit because you have builder warranties. So you're not going to see, if you see maintenance, you know that that's covered by the builder. So you pretty much don't have that unless something like the tenant did, okay, we charge it back to the tenant, but anything like that maintenance wise happens, the builder is going to take care of it. So you don't have to worry about that for the first, I will say for at least the first 3 to 4 years.
And then just really quick, we had a question come in about the return on investment in that calculation. This is our PDF form, so this is not as interactive. On the website, any of our calculations that we have are going to have a formula, right? And that formula is going to show you how we arrived at this number. But just to answer the question there in terms of how we get to this 16% return on investment, basically what we're doing is we're taking the profit over the investment capital, right? So how do I determine the profit? I determine, well, assuming a 15-year hold, right? And we're going to take the cash flow, which actually in this scenario is going to be a negative number. We're going to factor in appreciation over 15 years. And that math is in the calculator. I want to say in this scenario, it's about high 3s, low 4%. And then we're going to factor in the principal pay down. So over 15 years of you making mortgage payments, the principal that you've paid down as terms of profit towards you. And then we're going to actually back out selling expenses. So we're going to assume the selling expenses to sell this property, because truly the only way to recognize that kind of that number or that profit is to sell, unless you want to do a cash out refi, but we're assuming a sale here. And therefore, when you have that profit number over the investment capital held, divide that by the number of years held, which in this case is 15, it will give you basically an annual average return of about 16%. So happy to go into more of those details and kind of walk anybody through that on a more specific basis, but I just wanted to answer that question as I saw that one come into the chat box. Now, just really quickly, as we're coming to the end here, I just want to kind of quickly point out the life cycle of our property management. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these benchmarks here, but basically, I wanted to highlight kind of the main point of property management for us, right? And ultimately, it's to enforce the lease. It's for us to know the rental laws, for us to issue the proper disclosures, and essentially keep you out of court, right? This is a great way for us to be able to ensure that the property you purchased is producing and being maintained in the way you expected, right? So it's not like we're deferring our responsibilities to a third party that had no part of our conversations. Stephany and I are going to be talking to you guys about expectations and what to expect moving forward, because after a 30-day escrow, the real work starts with property management. We work with those folks daily, day in and day out. So it's such a critical component to investment real estate. And I want you to know that we're all under the same, we have the same common goal in mind with finding a quality tenant that's not going to be bothersome towards you, because at the end of the day, truly, they're going to be calling us constantly. So we want to make sure we're aligned there. And we do that in making sure to buy quality properties and screen tenants properly. That's so important. Another really nice part about our management is we don't charge a management fee when it's vacant. So it's nice to know that you're not going to be paying management fees when it's vacant. We are definitely incentivized to get its tenant in there as soon as possible. And I know that's aligned with an owner. Most of us are owners ourselves, so we understand a lot of these components and try to give that feedback to the team to make sure that our owners are seeing a lot of those benefits and seeing some of the thoughts put into how we do business. So yeah, that's just this is just the life cycle you'll see here, and I'm happy to go over this in more detail with anybody who would like to take a look. Again, we're so appreciative of everybody's time tonight. So those of you that do enjoy our education, we have videos, articles, lots of guides, all can be found for free at marshallreddick.com/learn. I'm happy to send you any of that information. You're also going to notice that we have in any market that you look, we're going to have these data packets. It's going to be similar demographics that we discussed tonight, but it's really helpful for those of you guys that are seeking to learn more about a market. These are updated annually, and you guys can find this on our website while you're scrolling on a specific property, and whatever it'll basically bring you to whatever market you're in. And then last but not least, we have our free Marshall Reddick rating ebook. This talks about the property classes. You're going to notice that property class designation on any of our properties. So this is something that you can look into closer. And yeah, this is my contact information. You can expect a call from me over the next day or beginning of next week. So again, want to thank you guys all so much for taking the time to be on the webinar. Stephany, we really appreciate your time as well. And we look forward to chatting with you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.